Hey you guys, it's Sal here. A very warm welcome back to another perfume video. So in today's video I'm going to be sharing my thoughts on the beautiful Alien Eau de Parfum and also Alien Eau de Toilette. I'm going to be comparing them both, and then at the end of the video I'll sort of explain which one I think would be the best one for you, and also I'll sort of mention whether I think it's necessary to have both of these fragrances in your collection. First of all though, before we get started with today's video, if you're new here then welcome. I create videos all about perfume every single week, so if that interests you then I'd absolutely love it if you would click the subscribe button below so you don't miss out on any of my future videos. I'd absolutely love to have you here. So first up, the original Alien Eau de Parfum. This fragrance is a very well-known one and it's kind of only really made up of three main components. So you have your rich, very prominent jasmine note in here, you have your amber, and you also have your woody notes. So that's what makes up this fragrance. Very simple composition really, only three main components. However, to me this one smells like a very deep, rich and complex fragrance. So it's a very rich, feminine, bold and beautiful fragrance. So immediately when you first spray it, it kind of generates this huge scent bubble around you. You don't need to spray very much of the Eau de Parfum because of just how strong it is. That's why I went and got the 30ml. I'm very happy with the small size, to be honest with you, because I do not overspray this fragrance. There are some fragrances in my collection that I just kind of go spray happy with, like I'll spray 5-6 sprays or whatever. This is not one of those fragrances. You really do not need to spray that much of this one to get the full effect of the fragrance. It's got a very strong presence, this fragrance. Very, very smooth. The jasmine in here I would say is quite an indolic, quite an animalic jasmine, and I think that that is further amplified by the amber notes, the woody notes in here. They all complement each other very, very well, and it results in a very well blended, unique fragrance of its own. This is a very, very warm fragrance. I think that probably comes from the amber in here. It's a very, very warm, deep, woody, beautiful, luscious jasmine fragrance. I absolutely love this one. And now if we just quickly move on to the Eau de Toilette. So upon the first spray of this fragrance I can immediately detect the main differences between the two. So this one is kind of lighter, it's more citrusy. But this fragrance is by no means a watered down version. It's definitely not a watered down version at all, you guys. It still has a lot of substance to it. It's still a very strong fragrance, and I've definitely found this one to be very good at lasting. When I've worn this out at work, actually it lasted all day and I could still definitely smell it on myself by the end of the day. So for me, the lasting power is definitely there for the Eau de Toilette. I have heard mixed opinions on this though. I've heard some people mention that the longevity wasn't quite as good for them, and I've heard other people say that it was pretty good. So I think it might even depend on the skin chemistry, but for me anyway it did last very, very well, and it was a very strong fragrance in itself. I would say actually that for me it performs like an Eau de Parfum. And it's still a very, very rich fragrance. It is just slightly different, and it's lighter and more citrusy. So I think one of the main reasons for that is probably because they don't have the same amber note in here. So in the Alien Eau de Parfum, there is definitely a very, very distinctive warm ambery fragrance. So I'll just really quickly explain to you my story with these fragrances because it's actually kind of interesting and it might possibly relate to you when it comes to the aliens. So basically with me, I had tried the Eau de Parfum here and there over the last few years and I wasn't really blown away by it. I found it too cloying actually. I found it far too much for me. I didn't like the warmth that this fragrance has. The smell of this fragrance is very, very warm from the amber, and that kind of put me off. I just didn't really like, just wasn't a big fan of that aspect of this fragrance. It was just too much for me basically. So I felt a little bit annoyed at the fact that I didn't have Alien in my collection. Like I still wanted that Alien experience and I kind of felt like I was missing out by not loving this one as much as everyone else seemed to. So what I decided to do first is buy the Eau de Toilette first. So this was the first perfume out of these two that I actually added to my collection, and I'm really, really glad that I did, you guys. I bought this Eau de Toilette and I wore it quite a lot and I found myself craving it more and more, and then I actually decided to by the Eau de Parfum, and now I love both of these. Possibly jumping in and smelling the Eau de Parfum first is too much for a lot of people. I know for myself it was very, very beneficial to try the Eau de Toilette concentration first and then gradually get used to the Eau de Parfum, if that makes sense. Because for me, maybe I have quite a sensitive nose or something, I'm not quite sure, but when I first smelt the Eau de Parfum, I didn't know how to take it. It was just far too much for me to try this one first. So the way I went about it is I tried the Eau de Toilette first, fell in love with that, and then I bought the Eau de Parfum, and now I love both. So maybe that would be helpful for you guys if perhaps you have found yourself in a similar situation. So yeah, anyway, I'm not going to ramble on too much about that because I have some more things to say about both of these. But basically, I would never have even given the Eau de Parfum a try if it wasn't for the Eau de Toilette. So maybe that's something just to bear in mind if you are looking to start exploring the Alien collection and you're not quite sure where to start. Possibly it might even be an idea to try the Eau de Toilette first, just so your senses are not overwhelmed and you don't immediately dismiss it, because I know when I first tried the Eau de Parfum I was just like, no way, do you know what I mean? I was immediately like, absolutely not, this is not a perfume for me, it's too much, it's too loud, everything like that. But when I tried this one first, then I fell in love with it and then grew to love the Eau de Parfum. Anyway, continuing on with the comparison. So basically, when the Eau de Toilette starts to dry down a bit more, it does become more just similar to the Eau de Parfum. So the initial citrusy notes, they fade quite a lot and you're left with a very rich jasmine, slightly woody fragrance. The jasmine in the Eau de Toilette is still the same kind of jasmine. It's very rich, it's very animalic, slightly indolic. It's I want to say visceral. It's a very raw animalic jasmine, if that makes sense. And you definitely still get that in the Eau de Toilette, without a doubt. I would say at this point, now that they've both dried down on my skin, the differences between the two, this one, the Eau de Toilette, is still overall slightly lighter, although it does still have weight. It's still a very strong fragrance and it's still very there, but it's just not as heavy as the Eau de Parfum. The Eau de Parfum has a lot more body to it. I would say the Eau de Parfum has slightly more of a sweetness about it actually. Perhaps that comes from the amber. I'm just trying to think, why would that be, you know. This definitely, the Eau de Toilette doesn't have as much amber, this does, so maybe that's where the slight sweetness is coming from, the richness, the depth. Oh my goodness, both of these fragrances, you guys, are absolutely 5-star fragrances. They are incredible. I am super, super happy with this Eau de Toilette as well, just because the lasting power is incredible. As I say, it performs very much like an Eau de Parfum to me, and it's still a beautiful fragrance in its own right. It's definitely not a watered down version. It's just slightly more emphasis on the citrusy notes, and the amber is basically not there, and the woodiness is dialed down, so it's more jasmine with an accent of citrusy notes, but it's a very voluptuous jasmine fragrance, basically, the Eau de Toilette. Eau de Parfum, still very, very loud jasmine fragrance. It's got some added weight from the strong, rich, warm amber and the very distinctive woody notes. They all complement each other very, very well, resulting in a very well-rounded, smooth, but very, very loud, bold and feminine fragrance. So as you guys can probably tell from my glowing review of these perfumes, I do recommend both. However, if you are like me and you find the Eau de Parfum too strong, too annoying, and you just immediately dismissed it, definitely give the Eau de Toilette a try, you guys, especially if you're already a fan of jasmine fragrances. If you love jasmine but the original Alien was just too much for you, I think you would absolutely love the Eau de Toilette. I'm so glad they created this because it still has all of that same alien sort of smell about it. It's got that very definite alien DNA in the Eau de Toilette. However, it's just overall, it's not as deep and serious a mood. It's not as like seductive, I wouldn't say. It's not as intoxicating, but it's still a very, very beautiful standout fragrance in itself, you guys. Seriously, it's very, very good. I would even go as far to say that to me the Eau de Toilette would be an excellent signature scent, because this one, it still has a very distinctive character about it. It's still extremely beautiful and feminine and it will get you noticed, but because it is slightly lighter in nature, I think it would be an excellent everyday scent as well. And as I say, very distinctive, so it would be nice to be known by this scent, if you know what I mean, because it's very, very original, very, very beautiful. Lots and lots of people wear the original Alien Eau de Parfum, so perhaps even if you went for the Eau de Toilette, it might even be slightly more unique because not as many people will smell the Eau de Toilette on other people as much as they would necessarily smell the Eau de Parfum on people, perhaps, but they are both absolutely fantastic fragrances. I would kind of say that the Eau de Parfum definitely has more oomph about it. It's more, if you're looking for a really, really sultry, beautiful, womanly, seductive fragrance, then I would maybe go for the Eau de Parfum, just because it is a little bit more, it has more attitude about it, it has more of a character about it, I would say. And I would say probably this one, the Eau de Parfum, is more reminiscent to me of like a nighttime sort of occasion, a nighttime fragrance, and the Eau de Toilette would be very well suited to every day. However, you could also wear this at night, it's just this one is slightly more versatile to me. Is it worth having both in your collection? I think yes. I mean, obviously I own both anyway, but for me, I'm really glad that I own both, you guys, because sometimes, particularly in the summer actually, like this spring and summer coming, I think I'll find it slightly more difficult to find the right time to reach for the Eau de Parfum, especially if the weather gets like quite warm, in which case I would be very happy to reach for my Eau de Toilette. So I think sometimes the Eau de Parfum is just a bit too much for either the occasion or the weather or whatever. And as I say, in those kind of situations, it is excellent for me to have the Eau de Toilette as an option. I would really like to point out as well, actually, that as far as Eau de Toilettes go, this is up there, you guys. This is an excellent, absolutely excellent Eau de Toilette fragrance. This, as I say, performs better than some Eau de Parfums. It performs better than many Eau de Parfums actually, and it projects as well. I've had a compliment on this one, the Eau de Toilette, which really doesn't happen to me an awful lot. To be perfectly honest with you guys, compliments don't really matter to me that much. Like, I only wear fragrance for myself anyway, really, but my point is, somebody obviously was able to smell this on me, and it made such a significant impression for them to then compliment me on it, if you know what I mean. So this is still a very distinctive fragrance in itself. To be honest with you guys, as they've dried down even more, I would say actually the dry down of the original Alien is perhaps quite a lot nicer. Because the Eau de Toilette has those very distinctive citrusy notes in there, they give the jasmine more of a sharper accent, if that makes sense, whereas the Eau de Parfum, because it's blended with more of those heavier, richer notes, like the amber and the woodiness, that gives it more of a round, a softer, more rounded feeling. The jasmine, I mean. I hope that makes sense. But yeah, I would say the Eau de Toilette, it's more of like a sharper... Basically, the Eau de Toilette, it's a very, very prominent jasmine fragrance, but it has a slightly sharp accent because of the citruses, and that sort of remains as it dries down. Whereas the Eau de Parfum is very much a soft, rounded, woody, amber take on a jasmine fragrance, and they are both absolutely stunning, you guys. I do highly recommend both. Definitely give them a try. Let me know in the comments which one is your favourite, if you've tried both. I am certainly very happy that I own both. I use them quite a lot and I absolutely love them. Thank you guys so very much for watching today, and I'll see you on the next video. Take care. Bye.